suspect west on Hall Road. Suspect is armed and dangerous. All units respond.
The scales are tipped. The board is set. A courtroom where the wagers met are not for justice, truth, or what is right, but who will yield without a fight. The advocates we pay to shield have learned the subtle ways in which to yield. They cannot strike with all their might, nor stand unbroken in the night. For in the halls where laws are weighed, a silent, shadowed game is played. They balance on a razor's edge between their client and their pledge. To keep the prosecutor calm and grease the gears with practiced palm, if they push back, if they demand the rigid limits of the land, the gavel falls, the favors end, the system turns upon the friend. And so the Constitution waits, abandoned at the courthouse gates. The unalienable rights decay, while officers of court delay and compromise the sacred text, just wondering what the judge does next. It is a sport of brokered pleas, of bending truths and bending knees. The system breaks when those who guard refuse to play the final card, leaving the solo, unbowed few to hold the line for what is true. The docket dictates every quiet sin, a bureaucratic triage built to win. Expediency usurps the rigorous plea, a triumph of administrative decree. The unalienable is thus reduced to mere procedure, quietly seduced. Our liberties, by passive slow decay, are filed and stamped and smoothly swept away. It isn't stolen by a tyrant's hand, but by the silent customs of our land. The local bench demands a swift retreat, a steady flow of frictionless defeat. They scorn the citizen who calculates his right, who forces them to litigate the fight. Because the man who deeply reads the law exposes every jurisdictional flaw. To navigate this mechanized facade, you cannot trust the guild. The oath is flawed. Beholden to the system's grand design, they lack the capital to hold the line. The uncompromised must take the floor alone, the only sovereign council you have known. You stand untethered, without compromise, refusing every bargain in disguise. For in the lower courts, the facts are void, submerged beneath the prejudice deployed. Your unadulterated, strict defense will meet a bench devoid of patience or pretense. So stand absolute when the gavel falls, and drag the record from these shallow halls. The local magistrate will grant no victory. True justice waits for appellate scrutiny. The weight of sovereignty is fiercely deep, a lonely vigil that the righteous keep. You face a monolith, a towering gate, designed to crush the soul and subjugate. But pierce the armor of this gilded class, and see their boasted brilliance is but glass. They hold no reverence for the sacred text, just hollow rituals comfortably reflexed. Their expertise is but a coward's dance, a choreographed subservient romance. They map the furies of a jaded bench and drag our freedoms through a sterile trench. To grease the wheels of a decayed machine, they strip us of the rights we hold unseen. With every brokered plea and quiet nod, they auction off the soil the founders trod. It is an agonizing, brutal strain to fight a ruthless, mechanized domain. Yet, arming your own mind with statute's might is our most sacred duty in the night. The gavel's game is our domestic foe, a creeping tyranny that strikes below. To stand unyielding in the lion's den is the sworn burden of free-hearted men. For if you fold and let their gavel fall, and silently surrender in their hall, it is not just your freedom on the block. The very pulse of liberty feels the shock. When one gives way to an oppressive throne, he leaves his bleeding countrymen alone. Hold fast the line, refuse to bend the knee, or watch the twilight of the brave and the free. You arbiters who stand before the bar, how far you've drifted from your guiding star. You've wrapped yourself in esoteric grace, yet wear the chains of complacent place. You swore an oath to be the fiercest shield, yet you are the first to fracture and the first to yield. A guild of scholars, comfortably elite, who built a lucrative and soft retreat. For you have traded valor for applause and built alliances above the laws. You calculate the cost of pushing back and lead your clients down a ruin track. To guard a daily, sycophantic tie with prosecutors who deal in only lies. You broker freedom in the name of speed and sacrifice the desperate in their time of need. Where is the fire of the advocate who stands defiant at the crushing gate? You claim to be the officers of right, but you are mere accomplices tonight. Your silence is the architect of grief, your compromise a sophisticated thief. Does conscience never whisper in the dark that you have missed the agonizing mark? Awake, you captive servants of the court, who turned the Constitution into a sport. Examine well the oath that you betrayed, liberties that you passively unmade. If there remains a flicker in your chest, a sudden, sharp, and ruinous unrest, then tear the velvet from your rusted sword, and be the champions you once implored. Stop pleading for the crumbs of their decree, and dare to practice law among the free. The sleeping public trusts the gilded hall. Believing justice elevates us all. They view the gavel with a naive grace, until they stand condemned within its space. The institution hides its deep decay from citizens who blindly walk away. It takes the sudden snapping of the snare, the visceral, cold descent into despair, to shatter the illusion of the blind and expose the devastation left behind. Before a single document is shown, they weaponize the terror of the unknown. The plea is pushed before the facts are clear, an instrument of calculated fear. The prosecutor twists the narrative thread and leverages the suffocating dread, convincing those without a speck of guilt that they will perish in the maze they built. They do not seek the truth, they seek the plea, the swift, coerced surrender of the free. And so the blameless sign their names away, terrified of what the state might say, afraid the designated shield will fail, afraid the crafted falsehood will prevail. They trade their honor for a lesser cage to escape the unhinged bureaucratic rage. This is the engine of our deep decline, a mechanized, unfeeling factory line, where actual innocence is brushed aside for rapid verdicts and a procedural pride. The ancient maxim perishes in dust, eradicated by a broken trust. Presumed an innocent is but a ghost, where those who fight the hardest suffer most. The system nosedives into a dark decay, while unaware Americans obey. They blindly praise the court's majestic flaw until they are the victims of the law and learn, too late, within the shadowed hall, that absolute compliance claims us all. And when the innocent concedes the fight, surrendering to the terror of the night, they finally see the monstrous, grinding gear, the mechanism built on fraud and fear. But as they turn to sound the stark alarm, they bear the state's dark brand upon their arm. The court bestows the title they despise and marks them in the slumbering public's eyes. They try to wake the masses from their sleep, to warn them of the rot, profound and deep. But society recoils and turns away, dismissing every word the victims say. Of course a criminal complains of fate. Of course the guilty vilify the state. The trap is flawless, brilliantly designed, to gag the witness and delude the mind. Between the iron teeth of this machine, our unalienable rights are swept unseen. They pulverize the bedrock of the free and weaponize the victim's agony. For those who learn the truth firsthand are cursed, condemned to be distrusted from the first. The ones who see the justice system flaw are stripped of honor by the hands of the law. It is the final, agonizing strike that treats the guilty and the pure alike. You take the plea to simply stay alive and sacrifice your right to truly thrive. Discredited by the very fraud you saw, you stand a living monument to law. A silenced ghost who watched the freedom fade, destroyed by the machinery of the trade.